Hello and welcome to the Pre-Chiro podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Ben Glass, and today we're making a chiropractic student connection out at Life University with Nicole Emrich. Nicole, can you get us started by just introducing yourself and reflecting on what it was that attracted you to become a chiropractor?
Right. Well, yeah, I'm Nicole. So I grew up in New Mexico, which was a great experience. Growing up, we had very kind of a medical mindset, which there's, again, nothing wrong with that. It just kind of pigeonholes you in certain aspects of health. So growing up, I had a little bit of scoliosis, ton of back pain. So we tried physical therapy, and that didn't work. And at the time, I was about high schoolish and trying to be an athlete in volleyball and just not um, succeeding the way that you kind of want to. So then my mom was like, well, let's go try the chiropractor. And I was like, I don't know if this is going to work. Like, this doesn't really make any sense. And so throughout that time, I transitioned from high school to college and I was getting adjusted the whole time. And yeah, my back pain went away, but I also had more energy than I ever had in my life. I mean, growing up, people would be like, "How are you?" And I'd be like, "I'm just tired." So like just chronic fatigue, and all of a sudden, I'm waking up like ready to go every morning. And throughout that whole journey, I was also having hormonal issues and prescribed medication after medication and side effect from those medications. And I mean, just miserable. And all of a sudden, things started resolving, getting back on track and normalizing. And the only thing I did was chiropractic. So I was on a track to go pre med, but then just through my own health journey and kind of feeling one ignored and two like solutions that I was told would work didn't work, but all of a sudden this other track that I didn't know was even available is working. So then I, one, as a patient, was frustrated that people don't know about this, and two, as a pre-med, started digging into why would adjusting someone on a back impact a whole global system. And I mean, neurology is connected, and I mean, like, it just started a whole new journey. So then I switched from pre-med and like pre-PT and that kind of track, and I went pre-chiropractic. And I was in Phoenix at the time at GCU, changed everything, and then kind of sat down with my chiropractor at the time. We looked at different schools, and then I started to travel to different schools. And I was looking into Parker, which was closer to my hometown, and even looked into Life West for a little bit. But then I went to Life University, all in Georgia, and there's just you got to like listen to your gut. And when I walked onto that campus, it was like, no, like, God's telling me I need to be here. So packed up my whole life, drove 22 hours with my family, moved in, and it was probably the best decision I ever made. And now I just love chiropractic and I'm all about it.
Mm. Can you kind of reflect on those years in pre-med or pre-physical therapy or pre-chiro and like how did you spend your time? Was there anything additional besides the prerequisites that you did that a typical student wouldn't do just because you knew you wanted to or you thought you wanted to go to chiropractic
Yeah.
direction? Just curious also like how much presence did chiropractic have amongst like the guidance counselors on your college campus or like in the college in general? Did you ever hear the word chiropractic being spoken about? Like, is there any awareness that this is a potential career path, or like, is there any awareness that people are actually studying to become chiropractors at your undergrad institution?
Yeah. So my guidance counselor, once I told her like I want to go chiropractic, she's like, I have no idea how to do that, but tell me what your prereqs are for that, and we'll get you what you need. She's like, we're gonna say that you're a biology degree with the pre-emphasis in physical therapy, but like if you have special requirements, we'll add those in and get you ready to go. So like I sent her all my requirements. She kind of made a separate plan for me. But like going through school, I only knew like one other guy who wanted to be a chiropractor at my school, and like I didn't really know him that well. It was like one of those like first day icebreakers where the professor's like, "Okay, everybody go around, say your name, what you're gonna do," and the guy in the back was like chiropractic, and I was like, "Me too," and then never saw him again.
Mm.
So I wish I had done more in undergrad to prepare because I really didn't actually know what chiropractic was and the actual impact it can have until I got to chiropractic school and until I took the extra steps to dive deeper and kind of listen to more. So I wish there was more information and connection. And then, like you're YouTubing and Googling like chiropractic, and you get kind of like a mix of different things, and it kind of like blurs the line of what is chiropractic and what it's not. And
Mhm.
then, the whole technique thing, I remember being so confused on being like, this guy says he's a Gonstead chiropractor, and this one says he has upper cervical, and like just kind of confused on even what that meant, even as a student going into chiropractic. And I remember sitting down with my chiropractor, and she kind of explained how there is this like divide in chiropractic. And I remember just being like, kind of like, not just kind of confused by that. But then, you get to chiropractic and it all kind of makes sense, but from like an outside lens, you feel detached. Um, and so I wish I had done more with that. But I even had friends that were like, "Are you sure you want to be a chiropractor?" And then some professors that were like, "Okay, well, just don't be like this kind of chiropractor," and like kind of pushing me away from that, um, which I don't think is great. But when I started to look into schools, there was a career fair at our school, and there was about 3 or 4 different tables for chiropractic schools. And like that was huge that was just there. And I remember connecting with a chiropractor there and a local chiropractor, and I went and shadowed and did a few other things in my area.
Mm.
So it I think it's coming, like, where more and more people are going that track, and I think it's coming, but it's just slow to get to the undergrads.
Mhm. Where are you at in the program right now? And if you could reflect on when you got to Life University, or even since you've been at Life University, what are like some of your favorite clubs that you gotten involved in? Like, what are some of the techniques that really spoke to you? I'm just curious.
Yeah, so I have 1 more quarter. I'm going to be in 11th quarter, and I leave for peak in October, which I'm going up with Tony Ebel and the Pediatric Experience crew. Super pumped about that. When I first got into school, I kind of sprinkled around with a bunch of different technique clubs, and I think that was super helpful because it kind of gives you an idea of what you like and what you don't like. And it opens your idea, and instead of like being like, I'm going to be this technique, which you can get stuck in, kind of opens you up to find what your true passion is. So through that, I found my passion is pediatrics, and I've always loved children and moms and babies. And I mean, like, ever since I was little, like, if there was a baby, I was going to be around it.
Hmm.
So I already knew I wanted to go in pediatrics, but how I was going to be a pediatric chiropractor was murky. So then Pediatric Experience launched, and I actually was the president for the club for about a year. And then we transitioned leadership, and I helped to just lead about 11 other students, which, cultivates your leadership skills. And I recommend joining leadership because when you're a chiropractor, you're leading patients and you're leading CAs and whatever team you have, and having leadership experience and getting kind of the kinks out of your own leadership experience early on in club is a great way to do that. I, didn't always know what I was doing in leadership, and now I can like be a better leader for my team in the future and kind of avoid the mistakes I made in the past. And so I think that's great. So I'm incredibly involved with Pediatric Experience. I actually just joined the team as a member, and I'm helping to launch clubs throughout campuses at chiropractic schools for the Pediatric Experience now. So it's really fun.
Hmm. Can you give us some insight that you learned in your leadership experience, like about yourself, and then like how you maybe grew out of that, or you grew into something that you had heard was like possible as a leader that you didn't have within you at the time, but now you do? And then
Yeah.
also do a deep dive into what the pediatric experience is, just so that students are aware of like what you would study in these clubs and the topics that you go through and the types of maybe clinical scenarios you learn about. I'm just curious what that community entails.
Yeah. Well, first off, the Pediatric Experience is an amazing, amazing group. It's a membership platform. So there's about 800 docs throughout the country now, and it's growing like crazy. And when you first get into the membership, you go through core values. So you start with kind of your vision, your mission, your why. And so, for us as a club, that is to impact families, as, right out of the gate, as best we can. Um, without any hesitation, and growing doctors that are confident. And I think that's huge. And so then you go through the science and like, why is an adjustment so impactful to the whole neurology of the system? And it really gives you certainty into telling this mom, like, I can help your baby, like, and I will, like, this is going to be a great solution and like a step for your baby's health. And then you go into marketing and communication and the actual running of a chiropractic office and just connecting with moms and saying like there is another option and we're here for you. Like whatever choice you have, like if you want to go one route or the other, we're here to support you, but this option is here for you. And then we do talk a lot about marketing and social media. I think that is a huge aspect to one, get the word out about chiropractic and maybe like, lessen the murky waters. And two, to just tell the stories that chiropractic is so impactful. And people don't know that. They don't know the possibilities with chiropractic. And so we do like a really good job just trying to get the message out about chiropractic.
Mm.
And then there's, team building and wellness and leadership. And I think that's really awesome because we can have a great group of chiropractors, but if they're not leaders, we're going to crack as a profession. And there is some amazing leaders out there. And so then the membership also has a platform that you can just put a question out there and they'll answer it. And then we also have a certification that is at Life now. And it kind of brings you through what to do with certain cases with pediatrics. So you have, we call the perfect storm, which is just a cascade of events that happen and end up with just sickness and disease. And it really starts with stress and trauma at birth, and it kind of cascades from there. And I actually connected my own health story to that, and that was so moving and pivotal. And it became my why as to like, I want to help people like my mom who had no direction and no route. And I just, being there for moms in such a confusing time and a stressful time. And it's so powerful when you see a mom who feels like she's like on the right course and like her baby is going to be okay and they are going to reach their full God-given potential. I think that is amazing. So that is the pediatric experience and it's so fun. We just have a good time. It's just full of energy. I forget your other question.
No, it's fine. It's all good. What can you, well, I had asked you to reflect on your experience being a leader in that club and maybe some advice that you would give to any other leaders of clubs, because I would love to see there be more pre-Chiro clubs. And so if you were speaking to like a president or a vice president of a pre-Chiro club, like what advice would you give them, or what types of experience can you share that you had that could help them maybe be more effective in the clubs that they're running?
I would definitely say get community. In undergrad that I had found that one guy that was a chiropractic student and been like, hey, like, do you want to just talk doing in life? Like what's your path? I think just gaining a community full of like-minded people who may have the same confusions and the same questions as you is really powerful. And they also bring a different perspective that you might not have thought of. And I think that again is powerful. I think just having people to go along your journey with is so important because it one strengthens yourself as a leader and as a healthcare professional, and the people you surround yourself is who you become. So if you're surrounding yourself by other people who may talk down about chiropractic, talk down about your vision is never going to reach that full potential. So I think just being find those chiropractic kids. I mean, all it takes, there's Facebook groups out there, like shoot a message in there and be like, hi, is anybody like into chiropractic? Like, you want to go grab coffee? I mean, and it just takes that, just to reach out and like start that ripple and that wave. I also think, just reaching out to local chiropractors, most of them are there to like help and grow chiropractic. There's a few that, will be like, nah, I don't know. Like, but a lot of chiropractors, when you go and talk to them, they're willing to dive deep into your own development and your own leadership. So just going and being in an office, that is one of the pivotal things I did while I'm in school. I'm also a scan tech at a office, and it kind of helped me to see the whole vision and the whole why. I'd go through, kind of like the boring classes in school. Like, this is just a checkbox to get to that practice that I want and to get to impacting people's lives. And it really helps to like for you to solidify your vision and your mission. So like go be in an office. I also think it's really important to start reading leadership books and like money mindset because school is expensive. And once you kind of get both those start ingrained and growing yourself, I think that's really like a head start right off the bat.
Hmm. Can you look at the peers that you have around you and kind of describe what the culture of the students on Life University's campus is? Like, what do you love most about Life University? What do you love most about the student body? And what can you do to kind of help a prospective student become more attracted to at least considering Life University as an option?
Yeah, I love life. I was looking at different schools, and at the end of the day, I had to look at listen to my gut. This was going to be more of an expensive investment, and it was worth it. I mean, COVID hit, and I was just so grateful to have Life University. Our professors and our teachers are there to support you, and through that whole journey, they really were there for us. And as far as peers go, I started off with a certain group of friends, and you can go down a wrong path really easily, whether you're in, Palmer or Life or wherever. And a certain group of friends just weren't as work driven as I was at the beginning. And so I think it's really important to find the people who have a drive and who they don't even have to like the same techniques. They don't have to, be into pediatrics. Find the people who are doing amazing leadership things and just get to know them. Like everybody's there to kind of do the same thing as you, like build that community. And so then, about halfway through the program, I kind of switched friend groups, and it was probably the best decision I've ever made. Um, and at least close friends. I mean, I'm all friends with everybody like that I was still friends with, but like having a close knit of you know, even like 3 to 5 people that you can go to seminars with, or you can vision and dream and talk about business and talk about philosophy and just people who are on a drive to impact people. I think is the biggest thing. Like a mission and a vision bigger than I'm going to graduate school and this is going to be great. Like, but why? Like, find the people with a why.
Mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm.
I think that's, reflecting on my journey.
Mm-hmm.
One of the best things
What's
I
like
did.
what's like one of the hardest things that you've had to encounter in these last couple of years, just as far as like seeing yourself as becoming a chiropractor? Like, are there any internal struggles you've had? Like, what have been the biggest challenges? What are the biggest challenges you maybe see of other students that is maybe not as relevant to you, but just curious if you could kind of help us better understand like what your challenges were and how you overcame them.
I think as a student, you're thrown a lot of things. And so, building your confidence as a doctor can sometimes be hard. And that's something that I've personally struggled with. You can do all the motions, but if you don't do it at a full 100% and give it your all, you can have cracks in the situation in certain aspects. And when you're learning, you have to learn your technique and do that well. You have to learn how to talk to a patient. You have to learn the clinical skills, what to do, referring out, when should they not be in your office? When should they be in your office? Is this the right technique for them? And you can always change up techniques. And I think that is the beautiful thing about chiropractic is you can have a toolbox full of a lot of different things to approach a patient with. But as a student, that can be overwhelming. You're like, I want this huge toolbox and to fill it with great techniques. And you're like, but I have 3.5 years to fill my toolbox. And that's not always true because, you're always learning after graduation too. And so I think just slowing down and also just taking care of your own self because you can burn out very quickly and very easily. So as a student, growing your own confidence, but also taking the time to one, go get adjusted yourself and continue your healthcare. If you're not taking care of yourself, you can't take care of others. And so I kind of disconnected from that in the beginning where I just wasn't getting adjusted and I wasn't taking care of myself and I was just trying to do all the things without taking care of me, and you burn out and then you end up dropping the ball on 5 different things because you you just flatlined.
Mm-hmm.
So definitely as students going in, take time to be with family, be with friends, do things that give you energy. There's a difference between doing something you like to do and then energizing yourself with it. I mean, I love being around, hosting parties with families and friends and having, a good group over. That can be exhausting too. So knowing the balance between this is going to energize me and this is going to just be a fun time that I'm going to need to recruit from. is really important too. And so just having that balance between, okay, these 2 hours I'm studying and I'm giving my all. And then afterwards, I can go be with friends, talk with the boyfriend, talk with family. And I'm going to give my 100% to that too. Having a planner set up just to kind of block that time is really important and stick to that time. And then, setting time to go exercise yourself and get adjusted and do all that. So
Mm-hmm.
I think
Mm-hmm.
that's huge for students coming in.
Yeah, no, that's big. That's big. I appreciate the honesty and just you're just keeping it real. There's so much that comes
Yeah.
at you. It's hard to digest everything, so you really have to be prioritizing what's valuable. Yeah, I guess the flip side of that is like you said you were a scan tech. Can you describe what that role was? Can you also just describe, like, based on all of your experience, if a student is going to shadow or observe a doc in practice, like, what are the things you're looking for? What are how would you reach out to that doc? Like, what would you say to them? What would be like the things that you're looking at when you go into a practice? What are the questions that you might ask? Just because you're very experienced and you could probably see things that somebody that doesn't have a lot of experience can't.
Yeah. So I am a scanning technician at a pediatric and prenatal office in Marietta, and it is so fun. Um, because one, I think every student should get involved in an office because it actually gives you real world experience on how to talk to a patient, how to answer phones, the systems, and what an actual chiropractic office looks like. Because you can go through school and you can go through emotions, but when you get into the real world and you're like dealt with a situation right then and there, it's very different than a textbook outline of a situation. Um, and so I am a scan tech. We use the Insight scan in Pediatric Experience. So this is a Pediatric Experience office I work for. So I complete all the neurological scans, and it's super fun because one, get to practice talking neurology, and I get to see neurology taking place in the changes that happen in these kids' bodies and in the moms too. We do have a handful of dads too, so I shouldn't exclude them. But we do a rolling thermal. We do an N, which just goes up your back and compares your right side to your left side, just taking temperature off your back. And that gives us a really good idea of what's going on with your autonomic nervous system, which is just your automatic. So your heart, your lungs, just things that you don't always think about that are happening in your body, gives us a good idea of how that's functioning. And then the second scan we do is an EMG or an SEMG, and that's just kind of going up your back as well. And we're comparing your muscular energy from your right to your left. So this gives us a really good idea of how your nervous system is kind of dividing and sending energy to your body. So if you have one area of increased energy, there's just a lot of activity going on. But then you'll also see some chronic subluxations going on in a person's body when, they just hit total exhaustion, and you'll see underactivity in certain areas because their body is just given up trying to fix that area. And then we also do an HRV, so that kind of gives us a really good idea on if a person is in parasympathetic nervous system or sympathetic nervous system. And so that is really just if you are in a total stressed out fight or flight mode, or if you are in rest and digest. And it kind of gives us a good idea of how much battery reserve you have, because everybody kind of has a iPhone battery charge. And if you're starting every day at 50%, you only have a 50% healing rate. So our care plan is going to look a little different from somebody who has kind of a 0.5% battery life to somebody who has 100% capacity. Like they have all the energy in the world, and you can kind of create a different care plan for that person.
Mm-hmm.
So that's kind of my job, and I love it. I also do marketing and I do reels for the practice, and it's just so much fun.
Mm. Can you describe like what are some of the insights that you have of like how to do reels really well? Like what are you trying to communicate with the
Yeah.
reels? Like maybe even give some strategy to a pre-Chiro club on how they can market themselves more effectively?
Yes. So yes, it is so fun, but also really stressful at the very beginning when you don't know what's going on. You don't know how to make it real. It kind of comes out grainy. But just, go on Instagram and scroll through really simple ideas. You can just start off by taking photos and putting them together in a video format and adding a trending song, and boom, there you go. But I think it's really important to think about who you're talking to. So if I'm doing it for an office that is a pediatric office, my target is mom. Like it's not necessarily dad, but it's going to be mom because mom usually makes the healthcare decisions in a family. Not always, but statistics show that she's typically the one that's like, hey, we're going to do this, and like, this is what I want to do for my baby, and she's going to make that decision. So a lot of our language is towards mom, so it's not going to be like, hey, your baby's subluxated. It's going to be like, hey, birth is stressful, and it gets stuck onto their nervous system, and this is how we can help them to adapt to life. Just simple words, use emojis, I mean, and have fun with it. I think in an office, it's really important to show the culture of the office and add in education, but you want to build that trust with mom. So if you're, just throwing tons of science and facts at them, great, you know what you're doing, but they don't know who you are, and they're not going to be like, here, take my baby. So I think it's super important to build that trust and build relationships, and to just show what your office culture is. So we'll do like, we'll find a trending reel and we'll just do it real fast. And we just did one, and we just opened a second location, and we just had fun acting like Dr. Dawn was like putting a baby button on the board, because we like to track pregnancies with our mom. So every pregnant mom gets a button and they can track their weeks. But then it transitioned to the second, office, and has a trending video, and Mr. Jamie, who is her husband and like supports her and is the office manager, is doing something wild in the back. And I mean, it just shows, what your culture is. But for a pre-chiropractic student, you don't necessarily want to be making reels, just, I mean, like yes, about chiropractic, but your audience is going to be students. So like, you have to kind of change that mindset, and how like, I'm not talking to a mom, I'm not talking to a future patient, I'm talking to other healthcare providers. So like, you can, say more facts, or you can tell like a ton of testimonials, or like, um, this is what chiropractic is and this is what it's not. And just, simple things like that. And I mean, the reason that we do this is because students and parents are on social media. And so that's how we can reach them. We don't do it just, for kicks and giggles, but we do it because that's where they are. And that's how we want to reach them and impact their families.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, for sure. Can you give us some ideas of what your vision is for when you graduate? Like, I know you said you're going to do a internship, or you're going to work at an office, but
Mhm.
like, what's possible? Like in your mind, what's possible? Like, how much impact can you make as a chiropractor? That's being really effective with what they have within them.
Yeah. First off, I think we're in a great position right now. I think impact is limitless. I think we can, be in NICUs, and I think we have the potential to be a first choice for families and not the last choice. We're seeing a ton of teenagers who are hopeless on their own health journeys in their own life. They're kind of giving up hope because they've been dealing with so much and a ton of stress with COVID and a lot of disconnect. I think this is a really wonderful time. I don't think there is a limit on the impact you can make. And I think every chiropractor is also different in the kinds of impact they can make. Somebody might focus on the teenagers, somebody might focus on the newborn, somebody might go into the NICU. Um, and I think that is beautiful. And I think it is so cool talking to different chiropractors, because different people have different visions. And when we bring that all together, I mean, it's a huge impact. And I think just supporting everyone's differences too at the same time is huge. I mean, right now for me, I'm going to be associating, although I don't exactly know where. Still praying about that and finding where my greatest impact is. I have a few options, so it's just trying to gauge, like, where can I make the biggest impact right off the gate, and where can I also develop myself as a doctor. And so I'm still figuring that one out. My boyfriend is also kind of on a different path. He is looking at being a DAC bar, which is a whole new perspective that I get to take on too, because he wants to ensure that patients are able to, get adjusted, and that they are good, and that they are getting the full health that they need, their care. And so like, that's really cool. So I think it's like, the impact is huge when you can bring in different perspectives, whether that is from a deck bar, or whether that is from somebody who does pediatrics to athletes. And I think we need to come together more as a profession.
Mm-hmm.
And one, nurture young because it's a lot, and two, create these awesome teams that feel empowered. Associate positions can sometimes be looked down upon, and certain positions can kind of treat associates not always the best, like they're going to do all the grunt work. But when you actually build up that leadership, I think it's limitless what your team can do and impact a whole community. So I'm really excited for that part of it, like chiropractic in future,
Mm.
and just seeing where we can go because it's huge.
Hmm. Can you just give a last piece of advice to like a high school student or a college student, just to like help them differentiate like this path from some of the other choices that they have that you're aware that people are heading towards more often than not, like maybe pre-med, pre-physical therapy.
Yeah. Listen to your gut. Like you know what you want to do, and you know what God created you to do. Um, if I hadn't listened to my gut, I'd have a totally different life. Different school. You have like this innate ability to know what's best. I didn't want to do certain, medications, but I did them because like the doctor told me to. And I would no, this is like actually not what I want to do. I want some other options. Any hesitation, whether that is in chiropractic or that is in physical therapy, and then